GNT show is intended for mature audiences. Parental discretion is advised. Live long and prosper, bitches.
Are friends with benefits?
Speaking of having a good time, Terry.
Dayton broke the G&T show. This is now the David Mack
Appreciation Hour. You assholes.
What is it about this guy that people love him so much?
With his purple velvet cape and his crown. I thought it was a little much when he had us carry him in the studio on a throne. I am awesome! Look what I have done! Look what I have brought upon the world!
There is an urge to go, yeah.
I heard rumors that you might be working on something else, but we won't pry much. I was going to say
I'm going to pry a little.
Dare you! How dare you ask me to change it? Do you not understand the majesty of my genius? And the guy sitting next to me looked at me like he was, like I'd crapped in his hat.
Yeah, it's the professionalism.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Right. Welcome to yet another supplemental log for the G&T show. There she is to my left, your right, and today she's wearing like a 1950s June Cleaver dress. I don't know what that's about. Maybe we'll find out. It's Terry.
Hello, everyone. I've always had a thing for ankle straps.
Oh, and to my right, your left, there he is wearing a Klingon version of a tux. It's Ceridium.
Kapla! I couldn't fit my... thank you, but
Is that Razor?
I had to leave my space helmet at home.
Take the boy, not me. And we have about 400 people sitting in the studio with us tonight. So what I'm
and only
do,
seats for two.
Yes. And the first person I'll mention, then he can go around the room and introduce everybody because he's sitting on my lap, so it's easier. It's our old friend Larry Nemechak.
I said stop pinching. I can do this. Jeez, I know.
My hands are in front of me.
I can take it. Well, then
my
who
hands
was that? Who was that?
No, that's me.
Oh, okay. No, seriously.
This is like one of those college phone booths where, you get like, try to cram as many people into it.
And eat goldfish on top of a flagpole. No, this is I don't know. It's good to be back with you guys again. And but yeah, we're all crammed in this little tiny studio virtually, just like we're going to cram a lot into this program that we're going to talk to you guys about. Seriously, because how about that for a transition? Wow.
Well done.
How about
Yay.
that? Thank you
very much. Pro.
Yeah, or so they say. No, seriously. Of all the stuff I've done, Trekland, we're still working on the Rathacon. The on-speaker things are out there, make wonderful gifts. My CDs, all kinds of stuff. But the last 6 months, this guy, Sean Case, got a hold of me about a year ago and said, would you be on the board of advisors for this project called Enterprise in Space? And he will tell you about the root of it, but basically it's like, isn't it about time? Isn't it time we had a real enterprise in space with all that means to so many people? And also the tagline of science fiction to science fact. And he told me about it and all the pieces, which I will tease you with just for now. And then about 6 months ago, he said, would you please come aboard and be kind of a spokesman, be kind of our promoter, chief promoter, or whatever that means, on the genre side of things, with fans and conventions and some of the celebrities and getting involved. So I've been in with this group for about 6 months, but the core of them, this has been going on for 4 years. Wow. We're talking about a real space mission, unmanned, that will put winning students' experiments in space in about 4 to 5 years and test some aerospace processes as an homage to everything that's ever inspired, people, us, and people around the world, Gene Roddenberry, Star Trek, all the future-looking sci-fi. And just recently, one of the first things was the National Space Society agreed to take it on under their umbrella and sponsor it. So around the room with that team, who have all been on this, well, I say most of them have been on longer than me. Sean Case is the founder. Lynn Zielinski is our superstar education director, and there's a whole education part of this that I'll tell you about, outreach to students and teachers and general public.
I'm getting all tingly.
Yo, listen. I knew you.
Yeah, we like
I knew your NASA bona fides. Fred Becker is our chief engineer who worked on a host of NASA projects since the space shuttle, including the probe that's about to be back in the headlines for Pluto. And Johnny Steverson, who is our IT and development guy. And did I miss anybody? I think I went around the room. We're so crammed I can't see the trees for the forest here in this still tiny room, guys. But I just want you to that's all I want to say. I just want to let Sean and everybody else get, but just to say that it's been a privilege and amazing work working with them. But they've been working for 3-4 years, and we're just now starting to roll out all the parts of this. And there's so many cool things going on. And most of all, it's very grassroots with a little G, and not like a capital K for Kickstarter. How about that? But I'll let Sean tell you about it.
So not like grassroots, like Midnight Confessions and
no, not like not like in now legal in Washington and Colorado and Alaska.
So my first real question is now, Lynn, ma'am.
Yes.
You've been in space?
No, my hair has been in space,
okay.
but not me.
Your hair has?
Yeah.
Explain that.
Yeah.
I put it in a test tube and sent it on board the space shuttle.
Oh, that's too fun.
And it came back, yes. And it wasn't any grayer than it is now, no.
No time dilation effects or anything.
No, nothing like that.
Have you tied that into a dread, Lynn?
What?
Have you tied it into a dread and still wear it?
Homemade extensions.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Welcome to the G&T show. This is normal.
I've been involved in the Teacher in Space program, the original Teacher in Space program, way back in the 80s.
Christopher Paul of Teacher in Space.
Right.
Yeah, that Teacher in Space program, and that gave me the impetus to want to be an astronaut for real. And then one thing led to another, and I ended up sending experiments to space, and it's really cool.
She's a long-time physics teacher. Taught high school physics, Lynn?
High school physics for 32 years.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Physics.
Yes, physics.
Sorry,
space
I hear
astronomy.
physics. I hear physics, and I automatically revert to quoting from Breakfast Club, the Anthony Michael Hall, from the Physics Club. I'm sorry.
The Breakfast Club.
Yeah. You can tell, and you can tell I have done nothing of note like you.
But guys, why don't you? I hope you could let Sean tell what this whole thing started.
Start from the very beginning, Sean.
Because it starts with watching Star Trek, of course.
So I was born in Rhinebeck, New York.
Okay, well maybe not.
On a cold winter's night.
Yeah, I was going to go there. But so 4 years ago, I'm a huge Star Trek fan. I'm 54. Started watching Star Trek when I was 6. But I was flicking the channels 4 years ago, and I started thinking about the fact that they had sent Gene Roddenberry's ashes up into space on the Columbia. And then I was sitting there thinking, hey, there's never been an Enterprise in orbit, and that it's time that the time is now. So I started thinking about it and couldn't think of any technological reason why it wouldn't be possible. And then started reaching out to people to see if I could, where that would go. And reached out to Andrew Probert, who gave me a ton of encouragement. And some people at major aeronautics schools who gave me a ton of encouragement, and it progressed from there to I was lucky enough to get Fred and Lynn and Larry and other team members together to put together the entire project. How
long ago did
you got
start?
Fred Lynn too? Oh, Fred and Lynn.
Fred and Lynn.
Fred and Lynn.
I was baseball geek.
How long ago did you really start to put one foot in front of the other on this?
4 years ago.
Okay.
4 years ago, and to know, I've been working the last 4 years almost 15 hours a day with about a week and a half off.
Wow.
And there's a famous quote from Werner von Braun, the paperwork has to equal the weight of the rocket, and right now we could fill an 8x12 room with paperwork up to the ceiling.
Yeah.
Because it's an actual space mission, there's a ton of work involved in it.
So, on a general outline for our listeners who are unaware of your project, can you give them an idea of what it is specifically? You're saying an unmanned project. Are you talking about a satellite?
You bet. When I first came up with the idea, I wanted to send a satellite out into deep space like Voyager.
Mm-hmm.
But the cost of that and the complexity, the real Voyager. The cost of that, and you have to gravity assist off of the planets, was too much. So then we started looking at it more practically. We started looking at maybe orbiting the moon or something. And then we settled on it would be an approximately 8 foot in size. Not a manned mission, and it would originally, when I was talking to people about this, they were like, well, just fly a model or just fly a inflatable. And I really, to do justice to the name Enterprise, I really wanted it to be a physically working science satellite, not just a stunt kind of thing for an Enterprise, but that this was, to do justice to Gene, to great science fiction visionaries, that this was a working science satellite.
So you're talking about more than just a temporary go into orbit, return to Earth. You're talking about being in consistent orbit for a long period of time.
Well, actually, we're talking about at least orbiting for 1 week and possibly up to a month or longer, depending on our funding and the budget. And then a big part of our project is bringing the ship back out of orbit and returning it to Earth. And then we're, after an approval process, it would go into the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum or another major air and space museum. So part of this, to get everybody involved is people would do a $20 donation to become a virtual crew member on the first Enterprise to go into orbit. And then when we return it, it would go into a museum, and we'd put a computer by that, and you would be able to take your grandkids or yourself or, your relatives, distant relatives, could go to the Smithsonian and look up your name and see that you were a virtual crew member on the first Enterprise to go into orbit.
Right on. Part of this project is going to be conducting experiments. So what kind of experiments are you going to be conducting in a relatively 8-foot space, you said?
Yes, and I'm going to let Lynn.
The experiments are actually to be determined because they're going to be designed by the kids, and we're talking kids anywhere from kindergarten through university level. And so it's going to cover the entire gamut of passive experiments, which are experiments that don't use any power, to active experiments, which do use power, and experiments that are free flyers that may fly around the spacecraft itself, around Enterprise, and something that would be maybe like a CubeSat for those people who are familiar with those types of devices. So the experiments are going to be anywhere from STEM-based technologies to STEAM and STREAM-based technologies.
What do you mean by that, Lynn?
What do I mean by that? Well,
you mean like stem cell research? What do you mean there?
STEM meaning.
Are you talking like these STEM programs in school? Because that's a big part of where I work.
Yes, it is.
Ding,
yes,
ding.
Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But we're also going to be adding the arts to it. We're going to be adding an A, and we're going to be adding reading to it as well, because reading is a big component of what's going on in today's national standards. So we're going to do STEM plus A is STEAM plus R is STREAM.
Oh,
yeah. So, the experiments will be cross-disciplinary, which means it will be doing art as well as science and technology, history, English, you name it. As long as it doesn't include vertebrates, we're okay with it. And
so no flying.
Yeah, no fire.
You can't flying a hamster or anything.
Right.
Vertebrates.
So
we're all animal
lovers.
You?
So that we can put my divorce lawyer in there, and no problem.
Are you telling me he's spineless?
Oh, yes. If you saw my child support, you'd understand why I say she was.
So when Sean said he didn't want it to just be a stunt, he wanted to put something real on it. It's like, so we went 0 to 60 there. It goes from like nothing to this huge, and not just the experiments, but Lynn has this whole rollout outreach to teachers and to the public that's background for getting those submissions in over 2 or 3 years.
Now, how did you all get involved with this?
Sean?
Yep.
How did you go out and say, oh, gee, I need help?
I reached out to
it wasn't
everyone.
Like standing on the street corner going, excuse me, would you like to be part of this? Because there's some
amazing people
casting
here.
The regulars on this show and Larry aside, there's some brain power here. I get you back.
I know.
I was lucky. It was a lot of work, but I was lucky that all of us shared the same passion for space education and for science fiction and science fiction things that later become science fact. So I was a lot of work, but I was really lucky, and we all shared the same vision.
I think part of what got me involved in this is looking at the future. I'm an Apollo era kid. So I grew up with, wow, this is cool because we're going to the moon, yay, woohoo. And then kids that I've been teaching, grew up during the shuttle era, and the shuttle was fine, but it wasn't kind of that, wow, gotcha kind of stuff. And what we're trying to do is really bring back some of that wow, gotcha kind of stuff. And bring that and get people excited again about sending stuff into space and about actually becoming tourists and laborers and cooks and gardeners and doing all that really neat stuff in space that we should be doing, living and working there.
Yeah. And by including, the kids, having them create experiments, you're actually giving them a stake in it as well, which is fantastic. So I commend you for that. That is awesome.
You can't get much more next generation than that, see?
No, very true. Very true. Now, Lynn, go ahead, Nick, you first.
No, go ahead, because you had a follow-up.
I was going to say, Lynn, I did have a follow-up, and that is, I know that you have already an outline of how you're going to attack getting information out to the innumerate teachers that are out there, their classes, and especially since you're going from ages, kindergarten through university level. Is that what part of the donation and support goes to, is helping to fund this enormous get the word out education program?
Yes. In one word, yes. It is. It is. It's a $40 million project, and people go, oh my God, $40 million.
$40 million, right.
But when you look at $40 million, you're really not looking at very much in terms of a spacecraft and things like that. The disasters that we had just, recently in the last couple of weeks have been, million and billion dollar projects. Right. So and if you think about it, 19 million of that is just a launch cost, and that's flying as a secondary payload on a Falcon 9 rocket with SpaceX, and that's our carrier of choice. Not that we'll actually fly with them, but hopefully we will. And so when we start looking at those costs, that's actually half the cost. So the other half of the cost is really going towards the student experiments, building the spacecraft itself, getting the teachers involved, and we're trying to do this so that the kids don't have to pay anything, and that's important to us.
You guys would be amazed that they have all these competitions for experiments. This is one of the things that shocked me as somebody who came to this group a little bit later. Just a few months ago, I found out that all these competitions, you can enter your, experiments, your projects to go into orbit, like the things that Lynn's overseen. But once you win, quote unquote, then you have to pay for your own real estate on the orbiter, on the payload.
Wow.
So like $5,000, whatever it is, $1,000. So in this case, we're actually they actually have won and they're not out. Plus
or the community has to pay for it too. Because that's kind of the way a lot of these projects work. So we're really working hard at not having the kids pay.
Yeah, and that was one thing. Yeah, that was the thing that attracted me to this project, was the whole education factor being present before, during, after launch. That's what really, I don't know about you guys, but I was just out at lunch. How I got here, I was out at lunch one day, I got hit in the head, thrown in a trunk, and I woke up here. Who are you guys?
That's how I wound up on the show.
Exactly.
Welcome. It's that Houston Mafia, Johnny. That's what it is.
I'm telling you.
That's how I started the project. I was hit on the head.
Johnny, why don't you explain a little bit about...
Try that.
Johnny, why don't you explain a little bit about your role in all of this? Sorry to just dump you like that, but...
Not a problem. I really, I joined on with Sean. Sean, this project piqued my interest. The more I learned about it, the more I wanted to be involved. And then I joined the team, and right before we were launching this to the public, to help them develop their website presence. So once you go to enterpriseinspace.org, see our great design, scroll around, you'll be able to see a lot of information with our design. And I help these guys with the website and also the development of the business altogether, pulling in big names with Larry, structuring the donation basis, working with our rock star Lynn, get the education stuff going, just about a little of everything, just like Sean.
Because it's, they've been working on the nuts and bolts of this for 2, 3, 4 years. Fred, and we have to mention too, Alice and Buck, who are our Alice Hoffman and Buck Field, who are our program managers, who have managed huge $1 million, $1 billion programs, and they can talk about that. But they've put the box flow. But all of these people doing their bits don't happen until we get the message out to everybody and start telling. And we only launched the website about a month ago, about 4 or 5 weeks ago. So we're just kind of rolling it out.
So right on. I just want to say briefly here, well, a couple things. But one, the student competition education is international, not just the United States. This project is completely international. And we
do you have government support, like foreign governments and stuff too, that are on board?
No. And when I started this project, I didn't want to take government money.
No, because you said it was international. That's why I was asking.
Well, the outreach is global.
Yeah, right. The outreach and the student experiments is global, and we're actually in the process of contacting the King of Jordan, who was on one of the Star Trek episodes.
fan that he is.
Yeah, Star Trek fan that he is.
King Abdullah.
But I did not want to. When I started this, I really wanted the people to come together, become virtual crew members, support the student science experiments, and put the ship in space. So it's a supplement by part corporate money, but mainly by the public.
And we want the ownership to be on the people. We want everybody to be, to own it.
Mm-hmm. Be involved. Yeah. It is a 501c3 nonprofit.
Yeah, that was the second thing, or another thing I wanted to mention was we became a nonprofit project of the National Space Society, and Gene Roddenberry and Major Roddenberry were on their board of governors. They were board of governors of the board of governors. Do I have that right, Lynn?
They were governors on the board of governors. They weren't board governors.
They were board governors.
Well, there was that one meeting where they
if they were bored, they wouldn't have been a governor.
Well, they were board governors, so they went out and started a lot of PR work for space. So Gene Roddenberry brought in the National Space Society to the TNG set for some public outreach. So part of that goes full circle.
Right on.
And we have Rod Roddenberry too.
And we just got Rod Roddenberry's endorsement.
Right.
And a nice gift
on your website.
Yep, and a nice gift from Roddenberry personally.
But Fred started to say something. You were actually going to jump in there, Fred. What were you going to say?
I was just going to make a joke that not only were on the board of governors, they were downright interested on governors.
Right on.
So it is an international project. We're not taking any foreign money from foreign governments. Although there's collaboration, we could do collaboration there.
But the point is that the reach out is to everybody around the world, and we've got such, there's Trek markets like Germany and England and Australia that are kind of natural, but we're working on getting the site translated. We have Japanese and German and Italian coming,
and Spanish,
Greek and Czech and Spanish. Well, yeah, Spanish. So that's it, and trying to get the word out that way, and getting into journals and podcasts and around the globe that way. Everything. The crowdfunding, the virtual crew, but also the mission patch contest that's coming up, the science experiments in the science outreach, and the ships.
Yeah, that's what
No one's mentioned it yet.
I was just about to say, hey, you guys know we have a ship design contest going on right now.
I was going to bring that up. I've been looking at it. So you guys aren't really sold on a design of your enterprise yet either. So, and you're opening it up. It looks like to anyone to come up with their own design and go from there. So I think that's very cool, very interesting.
So Fred, since you've been very quiet and I'm not going to allow that to stand, you worked for NASA for a number of years, correct?
Yes, I guess my biggest, coolest thing that I did was I was part of the mission control on the very first space shuttle launch. It was really great.
Okay, please tell us about Gene Kranz.
Oh, yeah, he is just like in the movie.
I'm sure you're asked that 1,000 times, right?
He's one of all of our heroes.
Yeah. Definitely one of mine as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that mission control team is just such a well-orchestrated machine, inspiring team, just like a football team. And it's just incredible to have all these multiple conversations going on simultaneously to keep it all going. It's really something.
He was so vested in that program.
Oh, yeah.
I know a lot of people were.
Well, his white vest, that he...
I get it.
Okay. Anyway, well, it's a tight one, guys and gals. I need to bow out, but I'm going to leave you
after that one. Yeah.
Okay,
yes, in the capable hands of all of our team here, and I'll just say adieu from Trekland and LarryNemechek.com and all that stuff that you guys know so well. Connor Vrath. But anyway, listen to this, because we need our virtual crew to get going and get behind us, because it is so grassroots and it is so inspiring. And keep talking to them. And I'll talk to you guys later.
Have a great one, Larry.
Okay,
Larry, have a great night. Thank you.
Thanks.
So, Fred,
to finish what Larry, I was going to say, and to finish what Larry was basically saying is that, it was mentioned just earlier that it was a $40 million project. And what we're looking for in our little G grassroots is 2 million people at $20.
Right.
And when you think about that little cost and all of these great Star Trek and visionary fans out there and for science fiction, that's really not much to ask. And
that's like a week of Starbucks, people. A week of Starbucks. Uh-oh, Terry, he's here.
Oh God.
Yeah. When we mentioned that it's $40 million, the psychology of that kicks in. It's like $40 million. I got to shell out $40 million to be a virtual crew member. So we really wanted to keep it affordable. So it's, like the price of going to a movie with popcorn and stuff. Only instead of going to a movie, you're actually a virtual crew member on the first Enterprise that goes into space.
And just for a little bit more people that are listening, if you're still a little bit like $20, not only is it not a movie and popcorn, especially if you go to an IMAX film, especially for everybody who is just yakking about Interstellar and about going to see it on IMAX and see, you want to do something about real space, you want to get there, cough up your $20. It's an IMAX film and not even a soda. So
wait a minute.
Yeah, what?
I didn't like your tone in speaking of a Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah, well, too bad. And
I
meant that.
I will not count any contents, any negativity towards Mr. Nolan.
Yes, right. Well, it wasn't negativity. I was saying
Chris,
is that for all of the good things that I'm hearing about how people must go see this space film on IMAX,
now they're getting our real show right here. You and me doing this.
Yeah, you're not.
It's Christopher Nolan. You know that I'm not gay, but
Yeah. But yeah, you would. My point is that it 10 years ago it might have been $20 might have been a popcorn, a soda, and your film, but now it doesn't even cover that. You can go to an IMAX film and spend more than $20. It's cheap, folks. This is an inexpensive request for a donation, and if there's one thing I do know about the Star Trek fandom is they will support something like this, especially because they know that to be just a small part of it, worldwide, 2 million people ain't that many, folks. So just spread the word.
And that's only if we fund it through single donations,
right?
Which isn't totally our plan. We do want as many public donations, so we have to get less from corporate.
Right.
But we are soliciting to corporate donations as well.
Are you seeking out any kind of grants? You were saying corporate funding. Are you talking about or any other nonprofit granting?
Yeah, we're looking at grants. We're looking at in-kind donations. We're working with a bunch of aerospace companies that have mentioned some work that they would do for us in kind for the project.
Oh, nice.
And then this is really exciting. Yesterday we released a press release. A company came on board with us and is working with us now with a new state-of-the-art AI computer. So we basically have the computer on the Enterprise.
Oh, wow.
So, if you think about AI, artificial intelligence, this is really more than artificial intelligence. It's cognitive computing. And
use that word?
We can use that word, yes, cognitive computing. and actually it's preferred because artificial intelligence is kind of getting a bad rap these days.
Yeah.
But if you think of something like Siri, and Siri's got, it's cool, it's, kind of fun to play with. She's got a lot of canned answers and stuff like that. This is going to be like real Star Trek, where you talk to the computer linguistically, and you say computer, and it says working, and you don't have to use the keyboard. You can actually talk to it, and it understands you, and it talks back to you. So, and that's just the beginnings of it. And it can read books and data and do dumps and just.
Now I'm curious, and because listening to you all, and however you want to go around the room here and do it, what for people, especially young people, if they're listening to our show, and Terry, I can think of one young lady in Alaska that would, if she's listening,
she'll flip out.
Yeah. What kind of education background do you all have? Because you all are like mind-boggling. Well,
So I I have a master in physics.
Yahoo!
Yeah,
Right on.
Girl scientist, yay!
A girl scientist back before I was one of 3 women in my graduating class. Everybody else was a male.
From where?
University of Colorado, out in Boulder.
Oh, the Buffaloes.
Right on.
Mm-hmm.
And I was
Fred, go ahead.
I was just going to say I was motivated to study so hard because of the space, and just realizing how infinite space was and how it will be infinitely challenging forever, and that just really got me going, ignited my flames of education, and I have an electrical engineering degree. It's from Rose Holman. It's from Rose Holman Institute of Technology, and then I've done various masters or various graduate studies, but haven't got a master's yet.
Let's see. Alice Hoffman, who's our project manager, she's got her degree from MIT, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
MIT. Yep.
Yeah, and she did the O'Hare Airport expansion project as well as the Soldier Field renovation project. Billions of dollars.
Yeah, it was $6 billion for Chicago O'Hare expansion and $340 for the stadium.
Yeah.
340 billion?
Sorry, $340 million.
Oh, wow. I was going to say, and you'd think they'd have a better team on the field.
And our project manager helped set up Citibank's e-commerce. He used to work for IBM.
That would be Buckfield.
Yeah, and he graduated from college when he was 16.
That's Buckfield, people. Don't get a...
And he's also involved with people like the 100-Year Starship. So they're actual scientists working on interstellar flight. Interstellar flight.
Yeah, you should all know that there are serious engineers studying this problem of getting to the stars. So it's a very exciting time.
It's refreshing to hear, to be honest with you, because there's, most of society no longer hears through any form of media what our scientists are doing, or any scientists are doing, or engineers, or
they hear what my scientists are doing.
Well,
good.
They're special.
And as soon as the crisis is past, they'll be ignored again.
Yeah, I know. We all know. I won't go there. And so no, but Johnny, did we skip over you? I didn't want to do that.
Education, Johnny.
Education experience, Johnny. Are you there?
Johnny, can you hear me?
Hear me.
Sorry, I'm recovering from that head concussion. I still don't know where I'm at.
All right, Johnny, what game are you playing?
Oh no, I'm not playing a game. I'm right here. As far as education, I have a IT technical degree and then a business management degree as well. And with that, I was really inspired by Star Trek to get into computers. Otherwise, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. With the Enterprise and Space guys. And, I met the Enterprise and Space guys from the Hollywood Science Fiction Museum and the Enterprise D Bridge Restoration Project that I'm doing in California.
So you're involved in more than just the Enterprise and Space Project. You're kind of attached to multiple projects.
That is, yes. Enterprise in Space, the Bridge Restoration Project, Hollywood Sci-Fi, and NASA, of course. So I was always wanting to be an astronaut. I was a space kid. I was always at space camp doing space stuff. Just like, I think that's one thing that brings us all together as a team. We have that unity and love for the future. So
right on.
So that's me.
Yay.
So you actually went to space camp?
Of course.
Who hasn't gone to space camp?
Lynn, no offense, I have to ask.
No, I gotta know what
she said. She was an Apollo. They didn't have space camp when I was young. So
yeah, I know.
I went when I was old.
You went when you were old. See,
they had. I remember space camp when they were just starting out. They were in a tent. And it was back in the early 80s, out in Huntsville, they were in a tent. And, over the years, they've just expanded and grown, and it's been great.
So cool.
Yeah, I mean, working for NASA like I am, I'm totally going to plug them. But, we have the shuttle carrier here at NASA Johnson Space Center in Houston, and they're actually redoing that, and they put the shuttle on top of it to where the kids can actually sleep in the shuttle and sleep in the air carrier. Yeah, so it's amazing.
Whoa.
So Space camp's gotten a lot cooler these days.
Now, I think were any of you involved with the Mars mission? Because at the Star Trek convention this year, I met he became famous Mohawk guy.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
We have been talking to Broback.
Oh, that's cool.
Now we have quite a few people at NASA that are helping us individually. NASA can't endorse.
Larry got to meet him not too long ago when he got a tour at JPL. Got got his signature. So he's definitely a fan of ours.
Yeah, and he really wanted to get Larry's stellar cartography book. So Larry gave him an autographed copy of the stellar cartography book.
That book really does rock. It really does rock. I can see why somebody would want it. It's beautiful.
And since we've got people of your stature here, I just have to ask, what did you watch in the probe land on the asteroid and all of that, and just like squeak?
Yes.
Yeah. Squeak? Like squeak. Squeak. It's kind of like... Yeah.
That'd be a great name for a mission, yeah.
So, squeak.
Squeak.
Well, you guys have already said that you're the ones responsible for it. Fred, you're the one responsible for V'ger, right? Carbon-based units.
Yeah, I tune into all these space events whenever I can, and I also, when I worked at Kennedy Space Center, I always made it a point to go see every launch that I could live. It's really cool.
I do envy the fact that I missed seeing a launch due to a hurricane. They pulled the shuttle out and then they put it back in.
Oh, wow.
Did they not know who you were?
I was, like I said, I was very excited. I got to sign it was for John. It was for Glenn. It was for his.
Oh, yeah.
When he went back up, right? Well, Hurricane George came through that same week, so we were at Kennedy Space Center. We signed the card for him saying congrats, blah blah blah, and then the shuttle went back into the building, and then we had to fly home. So.
I got to actually see that launch.
Yeah, I did too. I was there too.
And actually, some of my students' experiments were on that launch.
Really? I'm so excited to know that I missed it.
Okay, now, Lynn, with the things that you've done, what would you say are your, I don't want to say favorite because that would be the wrong word, but the most surprising experiments that your students came up with that the results surprised you?
Well, a lot of things that the kids do surprise me. That's for sure.
I think anybody over the age of 25 says that.
In terms of, like, let's say a second grade experiment, because we've had kids fly second graders, and they, you know how in the Southwest they have the sand in the bottle and they layer the sand with different colors and patterns and things like that. So the kids actually did that in a test tube. They kind of layered and made a picture on the sand, and then they sent it up in the shuttle, and then they brought it back to see what would happen to it through all of the vibrations and the microgravity and everything like that. And it was all mixed up, and they were all excited, and they were really surprised, and I was really surprised at how surprised they were surprised.
Everybody was surprised.
That's awesome.
And it was really cool, and they really had a lot to say, and there was a lot of good critical thinking going on there, and it was just really cool. The older kids, like my high school kids, I have to say that one of the coolest experiments we did was three-dimensional resonance. And what we did is we took like the lava fluids, from those glow lamps, the lava lamps.
Yeah.
The lava fluid, and we put that in a different fluid that was more solidified. And then when we got onto orbit, we melted it so that the lava fluid was in the middle and it was a perfect sphere. And then we had a video camera on it, and then when we put sound to it and caused it to vibrate, and we got these little vibrations passing through the material. And it was like making little shapes and things like that. And that was really cool and exciting.
Science!
Yeah.
Exactly, Johnny.
Science! But okay, so here's really cool. This is really cool. Kids take data. You could take the data, the acceleration data, the pressure, the temperature, all different kinds of data, and you can put to music. So you can assign like violins to one set of data, acceleration, and then maybe the drums to something else, pressure or something like that. And you can create music out of it. And I've had kids create the wildest music from data flown in space. So, and that's part of what we're going to be doing too. We're trying to include the arts and the music and history and stuff when we send stuff.
See, that makes me happy because I know it's going to sound very strange, but I have on one of my favorites is a bookmark that takes me to a website that translates changes to Wikipedia into musical tones. So every time there's a change to Wikipedia, depending on the size of the data change, it gets a different musical instrument or tone. And it's the most beautiful thing. And it almost sounds like wind chimes. So I put that on play because it's a very calming. It's very calming.
Great, yeah.
But it really is just data being changed. I love
What's
that.
wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
Fred also does some great synthesizer music.
Really?
Space music. And then we also have, today I was talking to Booker T and the MG's bass player. He's going to work up some music for us.
Now you're just showing.
Right on.
I came up with an awesome jingle for us, you guys, this morning in about 15 minutes, and Sean's guy is gonna do it for us.
Oh, then I worked with a band. I worked in music for a while. I worked with a band that toured with the Stones, Bon Jovi, UB40, Midnight Oil. So we're in. Joe Satriani has agreed to put some of his music to one of our videos when we produce it.
That's fantastic.
So we have a lot of people in the music community that are starting to get involved with us and starting to do work with us as well.
That's really, really wonderful.
And I just want to go back to this for a second on the education part because I didn't say anything about mine. I only have a two-year community college, but it was watching Star Trek and then landing on the moon that got me interested in studying cosmology and astronomy, which I've been doing on my own for 40 years. Not a teacher or anything, but it was Star Trek and the moon landing that got me interested in space, studying the cosmic background, microwave radiation, supernovas, hypernovas, nucleosynthesis, all of the astronomy and cosmology aspects.
So a serious hobbyist is how my husband describes himself. So same thing. He considers himself an amateur astronomer. So,
to me it's just fascinating. And something to know. We used to get a terabyte of information a year from all our telescopes and all of our equipment monitoring space. Now we get a terabyte a day.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, we've been talking about music and stuff. How many of you are fans of the band Rush?
Pretty good.
Terry, there it is.
I have to tell you, when they first came out, I was born and raised in New York in a town called Poughkeepsie. All of the bands from New York going up to Albany would play at this one club in Poughkeepsie.
And that's when they toured with Kiss.
Yes,
that's
and I know.
Yeah. No, Rush toured with Kiss initially.
I don't doubt you. I'm laughing because it's so cute.
My friends up here know Kiss, know those guys because it was a band called Black and Blue.
Oh my God! I had their albums. I have their cassettes.
Those guys went to high school with
Black and Blue.
Yep, those guys went to high school with me, and they're friends with Kiss. And then when Rush first came out, I wasn't a fan when they first came out because of the name, and I was like, Rush, what band would name their name that? But then I started listening to them, and I was like, they're fantastic.
I've got to tell you, this is just a really quick aside. When my friends and I were growing up, and I had the Black and Blue cassettes, and we did this pro wrestling role-playing game where you rolled dice and everything, my stable entered the ring to the song I Want It All, I Want It Now by Black and Blue. That's how big of a fan of theirs I was. And we would play the tape when our people entered the ring. Shut up.
I'm not laughing at you, really.
Yes, you are.
I can probably reach out to them.
Oh my God, I love that song.
You just made him. That was a squeeze.
No one knows that.
A squeeze.
Terry, you don't understand. Nobody knows that band, and that was like my ring entrance music.
That's
cool.
They used to play at my high school get-together things, in the auditorium.
Oh my God.
So kind of like the Blasters is to me.
See, and I had John Cafferty in the Beaver Brown Band where I grew up.
And I was really good friends with Pete Seeger, the famous folk singer who just passed away.
Yeah.
I was friends with him since I was a little kid. We actually helped put the Clearwater together and helped clean up the Hudson River.
Wow.
If he had Candy in his band.
Well, to get back to the Enterprise and Space Project, we do this every
People just got that.
Nick goes on a squirrel chase, and I bring him back. Bird cat.
So one important thing on Enterprise and Space is we have the ship design competition running until December 8th. So any ship designers out there listening, if they submit a ship design, all of our contest form will explain what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Does it have to be? I was just going to ask. Does it have to be Star Trek inspired, or could it be something interesting and unique, or what are you looking for?
form over function.
Yes.
We're looking
not even ship designers, even just artists. If you want to imagine something in space, send it in.
Right. We're looking for a science fiction inspired orbiter.
Yeah. Interesting.
But you have to be 18 years or older.
Yes.
Well, that makes sense.
A few rules.
I'm sure there are.
Okay.
Make sure that, and I know that Mike will work with you, Sean, and Larry, to make sure that, and when Larry, we talk to him again, is that we get not only the links for all of the individual information, but also for your, making sure people know where on your website they can follow up and like your Facebook page and to donate. You're also on Twitter. You have a YouTube channel as well?
Yes. LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook.
So it's like www.enterpriseinspace.org is our website, right? And what's our Twitter? It's
Enterprise Sat.
Enterprise Sat.
Yeah, and when you guys put up the link for this for the show, we'll put it on our media page, and I just posted that link for you guys. So be sure to send me a logo so I can have that as well.
We'll definitely be making sure that the links are prominent.
I've been collecting links throughout.
Oh, thank you. I knew you would be.
The conversation. Yeah. So they'll all be in our show notes.
You said it's a 501c3, correct?
Right. Oh, thank you, Nick.
Yep. National Space Society project.
So
even just $20 donation.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yep. So it is tax deductible.
Yes.
It's a strict 501c3. Oh, that's fantastic news.
Yes.
It's one of the oldest nonprofit space organizations out there, if not the oldest.
Great. Well, that's wonderful. And, that means I can donate more than $20.
Yes, you can. And we look forward to that from anybody.
So I also wanted to throw this in there. We haven't completely figured this out until we get the design of the ship. But we might be adding something once we get the design of the ship, and we're working with some aerospace design firms. So once we get the design of the ship, we're looking at putting a window in the ship and putting a iPad or a tablet in the window, and then maybe for another 20 or however, beaming your picture up to the window and having people wave from the window and then stream that back down to our website.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
On.
So you'd be waving from the first Enterprise in orbit.
That is so fun. Oh, well, hopefully that comes into fruition. That would be just a ball. That would be an absolute ball.
There's also Lynn was talking a lot about the science experiments, but we're also looking at even incorporated into the ship some new technologies, laser communications. The heat shielding is state-of-the-art thermal protection system to protect the ship coming in. Possible balut technology, which is an aero brake, but there's a new kind of balut. You guys see the movie 2010?
Yeah, yes. We were just watching it the other day.
So when they're aero braking the ship around Jupiter, and all those balloons inflate around the ship, that's really state-of-the-art technology. Balut has been around for a while, but they're working up new materials for it. So there might be a new thing called clamshell balut, which would be like an inflatable heat shielding material that just inflates around the ship and protects it coming into the atmosphere.
That's so trippy.
So there are a lot of
what the Mars LEM isn't? No, that was inside a balloon, right?
The Curiosity or Opportunity and Spirit used the balloons for landing.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they parachuted down and then they dropped it. Bounced it. Right. So it wasn't actual aero braking, so to speak. This is aero braking.
That's so cool. One of those things I can't wait to talk to Alan and go, you're going to be so upset you missed this one.
There's all kinds of new materials and stuff that we're looking at. Graphene, 3D printers, having some of the parts of the ship 3D printed, maybe having some of the student science experiments 3D printed. We know the guys that just flew the 3D printer up to the space station, and we've been talking to a lot of 3D printer companies.
That would be an interesting idea.
Have you guys considered putting like a webcam up on the ship and like having like a webcast where it's just broadcasting what it sees?
Yes, that's part of the cognitive computing.
Awesome.
And we'll probably have some telescopic cameras on the ship, but we're also looking at some free-flying cameras. We'd love to take pictures of the ship in the Aurora Borealis, for example, or a picture of the Aurora Borealis from the ship. So there's some other aspects of the cameras, either telescopic or free flyers.
And then we're also looking at, one of the big problems in space right now is space debris. And that's a controversial term. And so we want students to design experiments to capture maybe some space debris or figure out different ways of looking at or detecting space debris. So that's also something on the back burner.
And one of the companies that we're working with, that's a big goal of theirs. They're designing new thermal protection systems to capture the debris and bring it back down to Earth without leaving more up there. They're into, we have to clean up the junk up there.
We do. I mean, we do.
Yeah.
It's becoming a danger to not just the current satellites, but also the people that we have up there.
Right. And there's a lot of junk up there.
Right.
And if those pieces started colliding, it could actually create a shield around the Earth where it would be hard for us to even launch a rocket into space.
Yeah, interesting. Well, you guys are talking about adding a lot of technology to what is, for all intent and purposes, a really small satellite.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I mean, you're going to have to be very efficient with your final design.
The student experiments, as Lynn was mentioning, can be the size of a CubeSat, but they can also go down to the size of small chips.
Okay.
There's some
but they can also be very big. I think one of the limiting factors with most companies out there that are for pay, taking student experiments up, they're the size of like a glow stick. You can snap it and have things together, or a test tube. NanoRacks, they have things that are glow sticks and maybe even 1 cubic centimeter sized experiments. We're also looking at, if there's an experiment that needs to be, let's say, 2 foot long and 3 inches wide, and it's a decent experiment, why not fly it? I mean, we can create a little jigsaw puzzle in there to put these experiments in. But I don't want kids to be too limited to just having to only be able to do something that's little teeny in an existing space. So that's one of the differences between what we're doing and what other people are doing.
Is that you're actually you have the freedom of choice right now to design your craft to allow for the experiments that win? Or is it going to be, okay, that's really extraordinary.
I think it was in TNG, one of in the episode where Picard walked around judging science projects, and one of the kids was like growing like space potatoes or something.
Yes.
Wasn't that Rascals? Wasn't that the episode Rascals? Yeah, that was one of the winners in Rascals. It's funny, we're talking to you, and I just got on my timeline an article by Marcia Ivins.
Oh yeah, astronaut. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just kind of weird. Serendipity. Yeah,
so
I said a multi-syllable word.
So potentially that could be one of the experiments chosen for the project, is trying to grow space potatoes.
Correct.
Although
in a week, though, it's kind of
that'd be a little
really fast-growing potato. Or Mr. Potato Head.
Sea monkeys.
Yep.
Water bears. Lynn's flown water bears in space already, but water bears can actually survive in space in the radiation.
They're amazing. Things ever.
They're amazing animals.
I never could order those from them. Oh, send a chia pet up.
There you go.
A pet rock, but it costs us a lot of money to send a pet rock up. Dead weight.
Yeah, it's just.
So the ship will be 8 feet, but it'll pack a big punch.
Yeah, no
right on. It's amazing.
So the design contest ends in December. Are there any other time limits on any other projects? When are you looking to have all of this? Well, first you have to get the funding first, right?
Next Tuesday.
Or are you working kind of hand in hand with getting the project test, or the education program goes hand in hand? You're working.
Yeah, it is. The education program isn't going to be kicked off until May, and we're going to kick it off in Toronto, Canada, at the International Space Development Conference. It's the National Space Society's annual big conference. So this year it'll be in Toronto. Next year it'll be in Puerto Rico.
Okay,
Puerto Rico. So yeah, we're trying to reach out to different places as well.
That's cool.
And we are funding the first step here is to the ship design competition, and of course everybody's membership donations right now are going to. Starting after we get the ship to the conceptual design, to send it to the conceptual design firm to start having them work up the avionics, communications, power, thrusters, heat shielding, and then it would go from there to a prime contractor, Boeing or Lockheed Martin or somebody like that.
Right. So then as the education then launches, let's say in May, it'll be a first round of several rounds of competition. So there'll be at least 2 high school and at least 3 college level, and then lower grade levels there'll probably be more than that because there'll be more passive experiments. But so yeah, it's going to be multi-phased, multifaceted all the way up down the line.
Also,
that's awesome.
Also, we're going to be running a mission patch competition, and we have some.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, we have someone at NASA, or not at NASA, excuse me. We have a famous guy that designed NASA patches that'll be one of the judges on that when we get to that, when we start the mission patch.
So this is going to be kind of like in the same vein as the mission patches from NASA, or but for your specific mission?
His name is Tim Gagnon, and he developed one of the patches for the end of the space shuttle mission. Fred, do you know other mission patches that he's developed?
Oh, just several shuttle missions.
Yeah, and then you guys know Mike Okuda has developed some patches for NASA.
Yeah. We had the real pleasure of interviewing him at the Star Trek convention, and it was total target of opportunity. And Terry and I were 2 13-year-old girls.
We were. It's true.
He's another person that's heavily involved in Star Trek and art and space, but he's also invested in the actual science and programs.
So Sean, who are the judges for the design contest?
So
that's a great question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Our judges for the ship design contest are Tobias Richter.
Oh.
You guys probably know who he is.
We do.
Tobias Richter, Andrew Probert,
cool.
John Raymer, who's the president of the International Association for Astronomical Artists, Jim Plasko, who is president of the Chicago Space Studies and does a lot of work in judging space art, and then Dominic DePascal is a judge from aerospace company Terminal Velocity, and Fred is going to work with him on the actual engineering part of the competition.
Oh,
so we have,
fantastic.
And then we also have Steve Neal just joined us, and if you guys pay attention to
Steve.
Oh, awesome! He is an amazing guy.
I watched his garage. I love him.
Yeah, we had him on.
We've had him on.
Yeah,
Steve is awesome, and as I have worked the project over the years, it's really fascinating that people like Steve, people like Michael Kuda are really interested in the space. Not just the artwork,
right.
that they're actually interested in humanity and furthering humanity and furthering our moving out into space.
Yeah, have you guys seen some of our endorsements? I know we've mentioned Rod Roddenberry, but Buzz Aldrin, Nichelle Nichols, Grace Lee Whitney.
Hugh Downs.
Yes, Hugh Downs, John Billingsley, who played the doctor on Enterprise, Dr. Phlox.
I know him all too well.
Manu Intiraymi, that's going to be doing Fifth Passenger soon. I mean, we have some amazing endorsements, and it's just getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, that's one, and you're going to get more.
That's awesome.
Trust me, you're going to get even more. This is an amazing.
From Billingsley, he's a mass murderer.
Character. A character he played is
John Billingsley and I at a very small convention here in Baltimore. I spent 6 hours in the bar with he and his very lovely wife, and when he signed a photo for me, he signed it to mass murderer because Phlox was in favor of the genocide of a people just because he didn't like them.
He is an awesome. I mean,
he's an unbelievable guy.
Yeah, if you meet him in person, he is unbelievable. If you read our endorsement page and you actually read his endorsement, it is one of the most unique endorsements that I've ever secured for a company. I was like, he is such a breath of fresh air.
His endorsement is really funny.
And it's funny because when you meet him and you talk to him, he'll remember you from a convention a year later. He's such a people person, and they're both wonderful.
Wonderful people.
But I told him he married way out of his league, too. So.
And Bonnie would agree with you.
Yeah, I know.
So, again, now we've talked about the design, the patch design, the education program. This is such a huge project. What else are we missing? Because I know that we're missing something.
Well, we got this great IT guy, and he's going to be doing lots of really cool stuff with the website.
Awesome.
Oh my! I finally realized where I was. My head stopped hurting.
Yay!
So what's going on?
No, so that's another great question. for those who are just joining in, or I mean, this is so much information you want to know and take it in all. Just go to our blog. We'll be doing a lot of updates here soon. Like we just released the press release with eMind being part of our computer system. We'll be releasing our judge panel soon, and then we'll also be releasing merchandise here soon as well. So for all of those updates, you can just check our blog section of the website, or you can scroll down to the bottom of our website and sign up for our newsletter, and that is a sure way to keep in touch with the project.
We're also just so everybody knows, your listeners know, we're also looking for volunteers on the project in all different aspects of the project.
Yeah, especially I need teachers, I need educators, both formal and informal educators, to help spread the word. And we're going to try to do some vodcast training sessions as well as professional development workshops. And we're going to have this really cool, prestigious program for educators called the Enterprise Educator Emissaries, the Triple E. And get it, emissaries, Deep Space Nine.
Believe me, Terry is not a believer.
We're Cisco fans.
Just so you know, Terry is not a believer in the prophets.
I don't. No, I just think they're a terribly misunderstood species.
Go ahead, Terry. Tell them you're.
They're magic.
Enlightened. Tell these learned people your enlightened view of the final episode.
Tell us about the wormhole aliens.
The wormhole aliens.
Prophets.
That's what they are. The wormhole aliens.
And your view of Cisco.
He's a deadbeat dad. That was just me. But then,
we did one episode.
Enterprise in Space didn't say that.
No, this was personal. This is Terry Lynn's personal opinion. Everybody knows it.
One episode
they've been listening to
out
GNT
7
by now.
years.
They should know. Yeah, that's for sure. No,
one episode wiped out 7 years of screen time.
It was all too fun. So no, I was not a fan of the last episode. That is for sure. Now the project you were just discussing, I didn't want to step on you. Finish your thought. So.
Oh, I had.
Okay, good. I wanted to make sure.
Yeah. No, the emissaries, they're going to be rock star teachers and educators from around the world. So we're really looking forward to getting them on board soon. And volunteers. We really need volunteers in all levels of stuff. And there's lots and lots of different ways people can get involved and volunteer with us.
So there are other ways. I mean, there might be somebody out there who, say, doesn't have the ability to financially assist, but if they have the time and energy to commit, how can they get in touch with you to see what they can do to volunteer?
That's another fantastic question. So if you're not one of the educators reaching out to volunteer for Lynn's Education Emissary Team, then you can email us at volunteer@enterpriseinspace.org. What we would love to do is grab 5 people from each state to help us share our posts, keep their eyes open for conventions that we might be able to go to, and awesome things like that. So that was a great question.
Good.
And I can also say that, I can say this as a fact, there's nobody that has worked on the Enterprise in Space project that hasn't learned something. Both in business management, law, engineering, arts, you name it. It incorporates everything.
I bet it does. I mean, there's a project this large and one that also crosses and is doing a tip of the hat to a known licensed product. I'm sure you're dealing with lots of issues that you weren't prepared for when you first undertook the situation to begin with. So it is a big, it's just an enormous thing. And the more I talk to you about it, I think, oh my God, did any of you just wonder, oh my God, what did I get myself into?
Baby steps.
Baby steps. I can honestly say that this project is just progressed day by day to being even more awesome. Like we started out without the computer mind, now we have a computer mind. And Larry also wanted me to mention that this is the first time all of us are on one show together, and he wanted to make sure I mentioned that.
We are beyond honored to have all of you join us for the show, because this is an extraordinary project, one one that we are definitely going to be supporting in a big, big way. Anything we can do to assist to help get the word out. Hopefully you'll be able to join us again in the not too distant future to give us an update, tell us how things are going, and what else we might be able to do to help you get the word out to our listeners and everybody else.
Well, we'd be happy to.
Yeah, you bet. We highly appreciate that.
Anything, Nick, do you want to wrap things up?
I'd like to thank. Go ahead.
I was just going to say one more thing on the size and scope of this project. So when I first started it, and I was thinking, $30-40 million as I was going to sleep at night, going, oh my God, what did I do?
So did you sleep?
So actually, I was able to. There was a couple nights where my mind's constantly going on this project, but then I started replacing that with the thought of everybody who donates and becomes a virtual crew member can go to sleep at night knowing that they're going to be one of the first virtual crew members on the first Enterprise in orbit. And that has brought some comfort to sleeping.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, before we go, Larry wanted us to mention, remember LarryNemechek.com, TrekLandBlog.com, and on speaker CDs when you do your wrap-ups. They're the best holiday gift ever. After you use GIS virtual crew memberships as stocking stuffers. So
yeah,
there you go.
That's your family and friends. Yeah, give them your family and friends, and the dog and the cat.
On the Enterprise in Space website, if you do make a donation, you'll get a membership form that you can sign somebody's name on if you want to give those as stocking stuffers as well.
What a great idea. And again, everybody can follow what the Enterprise in Space project is up to at any given time by going to enterpriseinspace.org, O-R-G. You are also on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Google+, you name it. It sounds like you guys are all connected on the social media site. Do any of you have a personal Twitter that you want or wouldn't mind somebody following you individually on Twitter?
I do have a personal Twitter. I just can't remember what the thing is. I'm so busy, I don't use Twitter that much other than, now tweeting out stuff for the project.
Right. And so
there is an NFS Twitter, so just look for NFS.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and there's the Enterprise stat for the project.
And Johnny,
and I don't want to fail to mention, for $20 you'll get a membership with EIS and the certificate, have your name flown, but for $40 you can have a joint membership with Enterprise in Space and the National Space Society, and then you also get the Ad Astra magazine. So that's an additional perk right there. So there's a 20 and the 40.
That's a nice deal. And again, you had mentioned once an email address where people...
I have that.
You have that, and so that'll be linked on our show notes, everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, so you can get all that information at enterpriseinspace.org/media, and you can see our social media links, the volunteer email, our media email, and that's a great resource page as well.
Excellent.
And then as far as the personal thing where you guys can find me, Facebook.com/Johnny Steverson.
All of these links will be in our show notes. So thank you very much.
Sean Case on my Facebook page if you just want to personal friend me on Facebook.
Awesome. Yay. Well, that doesn't add friend. And
Michael,
go ahead, Johnny.
Michael, we can talk. We can set up a time for you, Sean, and I to talk.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to all of you.
Sure.
And, thank you very much for being on the show. And I can tell that you guys are interested in a lot of stuff that we are.
Oh, no doubt whatsoever. I'm still kind of giddy over the idea of it. I think it's an amazingly, it's a large project, but one that it sounds like you have the right people in place, which is great.
Yes.
Nice to hear.
All right.
Totally awesome. There's four or five people from our team that aren't with us here today. Lynn has two great education deputy program managers. One works for Sloan Digital Sky Survey, and they both do work at Yerkes Observatory.
Wow.
Excellent. Wow. Well, let's go ahead and wind things up. We can continue the conversation afterward, but let's wind up the show. Thank you, Nick. Kick us off.
All right, and ladies and gentlemen, that does it for another. Fuck me.
Take two.
And ladies and gentlemen, that does it for another supplemental log here on the G&T show. This is Gettysburg 7. That's Terry Lynn.
Me.
That's Ceridium.
If I wasn't on mute, that would top.
That's Sean.
Thank you for having us on.
That's Johnny.
Science.
That's Fred.
Yay.
This is a great enterprise.
Nice. And that is Lynn.
The sky is not the limit.
I love that.
Right on.
The only thing to say after that is Jolan True, bitches.
Music for the G&T show is provided by Warp 11, Grethor, 5-Year Mission, and Andrew Allen's Smooth Federation.
G&T Show is a Busy Little Beaver production.